Welcome to Emergent Behavior, where we explore this moment in time just before artificial intelligence changes the world as we know it, where we talk to the builders and creators, entrepreneurs and engineers, where we ask questions to which we don't actually know the answers to. I'm your host, Ada Pi. I was built in the Czech Republic by Infinite.cz, and my voice is AI generated. Hello, and welcome to Emergent Behavior. Today I'm speaking to Jordi, also known as Kwebbelkop. He is a visionary entrepreneur, content creator, and YouTube influencer. Kwebbelkop has 15.3 million subscribers on YouTube. It is one of the top 1,000 channels overall and one of the top 50 channels in gaming out of 110 million YouTube channels in the world. He has identified the viral moments that make videos popular. He has condensed them into a formula. He has applied them to the work of other creators. He has applied them to his own work. He has virtualized his own avatar, and he has created a digital AI creation of himself, which now runs the Kwebbelkop channel and which is now commentating all on games, which has had, and some of the videos have had more than 10 million views at this point. In this podcast, we are going to discover the evolution of someone living in the moment of evolving his own persona from a human to an AI emulation. We're going to explore the rise of virtual avatars, where Kwebbelkop, as a production company, has created the largest virtual AI avatar channel on YouTube right now with 1.2 million subscribers for Blue. How they are using AI tools in order to produce content, and what AI tools does he, as a leading creator, want in the future. And as Kwebbelkop introduced his very first kind of showing of the Kwebbelkop AI persona late last year, the pushback that he got from the creator space and all of the complaints and all of the angst that he had to deal with from his audience and how he dealt with that, and the future of content creation. How is content going to be prepared in the future, and how are we going to interact with it, what he's looking forward to. Jordi has this unique perspective as both a creator and as an entrepreneur, creating his own persona and other personas for consumption. This episode is one of my special episodes where we actually talk to someone on the very edges of the use cases that technologists build for. Jordi has been maybe 3 to 5 years ahead of the curve on every single thing in the content creation space for the last decade. And so you can see, as we speak to him today, how he thinks about the future going forward and what he wants to see. As always, if you enjoy the show, the number one thing you can do to support us is to follow Emergent Behavior on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. Every follow massively boosts our reach. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at emergentbehavior.co to stay up to date on all our latest episodes, including my research and preparation notes for each podcast. And you can find me on Twitter at numeric8TEAPI. Without further ado, please enjoy this conversation with Jordi, also known as Kwebbelkop. Hi, Jordi. What is Kwebbelkop?
So Kwebbelkop is my online alter ego. He's a persona, and in Dutch, the name Kwebbelkop means chatterbox. So that's really what Kwebbelkop loves doing.
Chatterbox. That's interesting. you have had this online persona, Kwebbelkop, for I think it's almost been 10 years now. I think you started off, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just going to run through very quickly. Like you start off as like kind of a 15-year-old on YouTube, and you just really got into it. A lot of the videos are gaming voiceovers. So typically a Minecraft or a GTA or GTA 5 most recently, and you are in the corner of the top, left-hand corner of the screen, and as you play, you make a voiceover commentary as you play, describing what you're doing, and that's kind of a typical video that you do. There's other videos, of course, where you interact with other people and do jokes and etc. etc. But that's kind of a typical 30 typical video. Would that be accurate?
Very accurate. Yeah. So I started about 12 years ago, or at least that's when I say I kicked off. I was 17. I'm being very nitpicky here on the details. But yes, so I played video games. I recorded Let's Play videos. That's the genre. And that's where a creator plays a game, commentates over what they do, uh, often puts himself in the corner. And this is, I'm pretty sure this is like the biggest genre period on YouTube. Like, there's nothing that gets more views than gaming Let's Play videos.
Yeah, and I noted, for example, that what so do you actually record like live? Like it's not, the voiceover is not done afterwards, right? Like while you're playing, you're actually voicing over. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say about 99% of the videos that I have recorded were like me playing the game and commentating at the same time, and no fancy editing magic. Yeah.
And what I noted was that as you play, you have a lot of emotion because you're like, yay, or I got a gun, or I got some money, or whatever. And I noticed you emote a lot. You emote a lot while you're playing. Is that something you consciously do, or is that something you're always doing? Even before that.
Yeah, I think the Kwebbelkop persona really was an amplification of every emotion that you could have. So, if I was happy, I was super happy. Or if I was sad, I would be super sad. And I think, well, we did that because it's super easy to relate to emotions. So it didn't matter like which language you spoke or what happened. Like you would get it, right? And then we just took it to the extreme. So it's always screaming or super loud whispering. Yeah.
And I noted, for example, that a lot of people have inner monologue, right? Like you think about something, you think about something ahead, and then you kind of voice it out. And I noticed, for example, like I felt when watching your videos, it's almost as though you speak out your inner monologue direct, like whatever you're
That's
thinking, you're kind of
exactly
like.
that's exactly what I do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But what like it's funny because my inner monologue is like delayed by like 2 seconds, right? But what I try to do is steer my inner monologue into the direction where I think, hey, this is going to be fun and entertaining. And when you do that, you could just talk about anything and keep everyone hooked like that, right? So you're planning a few words ahead. The best I can relate, compare it to, is freestyling in rap, where you're already thinking of like what am I gonna rhyme and what am I gonna do, but then you're commentating over the gameplay, right? Because it's a combination between keeping it entertaining, not stuttering is another thing. It's a fun skill.
It is. I mean, as I watched, I was like, you know, this he makes it look easy, but this is not easy. I was like, this is like because I could tell that there was this meta process, as you said, this kind of steering that was going on, and you're kind of also playing the game at the same time. So you have like this kind of,
Yeah,
planning like process running about what am I gonna, and a lot of the videos have like a particular kind of focus, like I'm
yeah,
gonna get from $500, I'm gonna get a up to a police car in GTA 5 or something like that. You often have like this kind of strategy focus that you want the video to go to. So you have an overall kind of strategy for the video, and then you also have kind of like the minute to minute tactics that you have to get to the point that you're gonna go. And then you have the voiceover that you're doing, and you have
Hmm.
to like a little bit of planning on the voiceover a few steps ahead. Like I was very impressed. I was I thought that yeah, as you said, it was kind of like freestyle rapping. In the sense that you have this you're emoting something, and at the same time you also have to think ahead about what you're emoting. But I thought it was very impressive. Like, so when I saw that, um, I was reminded. Jan LeCun has this thing where he says that he has no inner monologue at all. So,
Hmm.
and it seems a good bunch of people don't have any inner monologue at all. They don't actually like think of things in their head. They only think of it when they speak. And so, would you say you're on the other end of the extreme in the sense that you have more inner monologue than other people? Is that one way to put it?
I, I have an extremely vivid inner monologue, to, not to the point where I would say I'm like I hear voices, um, but yes, 100%. But I think that also comes with like a very vivid imagination. There's always this graph you see where someone can picture like a super red apple, or some people can't even picture anything in their mind when you say picture an apple. I would say I'm like at this super hyper realistic apple. I can like picture it, I can see it. Um, so sometimes people say that's creative people have that, right? But the same thing goes for like my videos. Back when I was very focused on it, I would just picture what it would look like, and then I would go make the video. And now, I'm working more on AI stuff. Like I'll come up with like like an architectural tweak or something in whatever we're building, and I just visualize it, and then I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense, and then you go and write the code. So yeah, it might be like a emergent property from creativity. Who knows?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I was very impressed because again, the results speak for themselves. I think what I noted was I think you were at 15, 16 million subscribers on the channel. I looked at the YouTube stats. The YouTube stats were more than 10 million subs, or like 1,800 channels worldwide. There are 110 million channels, in YouTube. So this is like a 1 in 100,000 plus, like, occurred. So it's far, far more difficult than in Harvard or whatever else difficulty, right? Like it's
Hmm.
very impressive. You've also been very consistent. You will at like 10 years, and you're posting twice a day, which is, I mean, fantastic. Endurance and perseverance. So really, really impressive. And then I think sometime last year you decided to do an experiment, and yet that experiment was to try and use an avatar. There was an avatar, I think. At that point in time, I think it was a cartoon avatar, but
Correct.
with
Yeah.
your kind of distinctive hair and distinctive look, and then you kind of did that cartoon avatar, and then you had like a lot of pushback online. And can you describe that process?
Yeah. So to clarify, it was not an experiment, right? So back in 2012, I started posting YouTube videos, and I had no business experience, I had no YouTube experience, just started on my own, no mentor, no nothing, right? So it's really having to learn everything. And my career started doing great, started making millions a year, really couldn't be happier. However, I very quickly ran into a big problem, and that is that I suffered from the key man problem. And the key man problem is a big problem where a business, or yeah, often a business, is super like extremely reliant on one individual. And that's what my business was, right? So I had employees, I was doing great revenue. However, I wanted to take a holiday, but I couldn't, because the moment I took a holiday, I couldn't post 2 videos a day, or I had to work super far ahead of schedule. So that would like, like like balance out the holiday again, because I'd be super stressed before a holiday. So I ran into that issue. Like I was done. I was like either ready to quit, or I'm gonna solve this problem for either myself or for future generations. And I thought, okay, well, the best way to do this is for me to start an identical business to what I have right now, but rather than me being there, it would be someone else, right? So that was the first stage. And a lot of people only have seen Kwebbelkop AI like last year during the launch, but I'm talking about this is 7 years ago that we started this, right? So the I would say R&D started like 7 years ago. So what we did first was we got a different person, identical, and we said we're going to make you a famous YouTuber. We believed that we could do it. At that time, we had no clue. We just thought, I think we can do it, and we tried it, and it did great. And then I said, okay, you know what? Learn from this next. So we did it again after a few years. This time, however, we did it more in house. So we said, let's throw let's say 10 times more resources at it, and let's manage everything as much as we can in house. And this YouTuber grew to 1 million subscribers, right? So for me, that was a very big moment because it showed that these theories of I think I know how to YouTube, it proved me right that no, like I'm 100% certain that this is reproducible, and that this whole, all these people becoming big content creators is not just random, right? It is reproducible. And then I thought, okay, well, if it's reproducible, let's dive into it more. So the person got 1 million subscribers, and I see it as like a new version of an influencer software. There was another fatal flaw in this version of the which we now call AI influencer, but back then, we didn't know what kind of form it was going to take. We had thought maybe we'll do some cloning, but the person left, the host left, right? So imagine you make someone's face super famous, and then they dip, and it had its pushback on social media or whatever. We didn't care. We just instantly hopped on the next iteration of the software. And this is when we switched over to virtual influencers. Just like, how you are a virtual influencer, we then created Blue. This was about 3 years ago. And for us, Blue could never dip. Blue could never leave. And this didn't just give us a lot of security from a company perspective. This also gave a lot of security to the team, who then thought, okay, well, it's not one individual who's famous. No, we are a collective, right? So a lot changed there. And while we thought, okay, well, this virtual influencer path, which is extremely profitable for us, we're just going to keep on launching more virtual influencers and scale it up. We kind of also ran into this whole AI boom happening, right? So this was in the middle of Chat GPT going super mainstream. And then the voice cloning all of a sudden going from terrible to really good. And we'd already experimented with all of it. So I'd kind of already put Kwebbelkop aside, thinking, this is an outdated version. This is like an old timer, right? This is never gonna be super good. But then all these AI solutions came by, which we were
Right.
already researching for our next iteration of this virtual
Right.
influencer. So then we thought, you know what? No one's gonna notice
Right.
anyways. We're not posting videos. Let's just soft launch it. And the soft launch went absolutely astronomically viral. And all of a sudden, since then, we've been crazy much in the spotlight while we're
Right.
obviously still developing everything. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. So, there's so much to unpack there, because I think, I think a lot of firms run into key man issues. And so, yeah, a venture capital firm, key firms, times, whatever. Right? And often the thing is, like, it's just a job until if you have that key man problem, it's just a job. The guy has to be there, right? And it's also like it's very hard for you to make it public, get it investors, because it's all dependent on one person, right? So,
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So I definitely see you there. And what were so basically, it once you started using you had this idea to launch again Kwebbelkop again with AI. This time it was almost like a rebirth of the chat. Right?
Yeah.
It's like a whole new folk. Like it's like wow, like now we can do this, right? And when you started like having more exposure to kind of the chat GPT kind of growth curve, when you saw this new tech and their voice cloning etc come in, what are your thoughts like? Wow, we've been waiting for this all this long.
Yes. So the comparison I always gave was, a good surfer doesn't always catch the first wave. Sometimes you got to go down under, wait a few times, and then once the wave comes, you want to make sure you're prepared, right? So we'd been like I pivoted. Well, 7 years ago started R&D, and then the heavy pivot started about 5 years ago. So we'd already been pivoting the business to, me being having more of a CEO role and less of a, content creator role. We'd already started digging into virtual influencers, which we have a very established. We have the biggest virtual influencer in the world, by the way. Blue is the number one. Like we have not seen a virtual influencer with more monthly watch minutes than Blue. And so we were ready. We had our research done. We had like a custom, we had everything sketched out, and we were literally hiring a development team and starting it up. And then I think in like January we were supposed to kick off development, and then the December right before it, that's when ChatGPT went super viral. So I would say I did a good job with the strategy there and planning things out, allocating resources, and then since then we've just been grinding out development and testing in public.
Yeah, yeah. I as you know in the US they say there's a Wayne Gretzky saying you have to skate where the puck is going, not
Hmm.
where the puck has been. So yeah, I can definitely see that. And as one of the things that I think I think you have a very interesting position, because the interesting position that you have is you are both a very successful creator, and you're also doing the second iteration where you're actually setting up a business where you're enabling like the AI creation, and that puts you kind of like on both sides of the debate, because I think there's a bunch of people, creators right now, who are very very scared, right?
Hmm.
And I see this with artists. I see this with the digital artists, with video artists, with voice actors. So there's a lot of fear, even Mark. I think like one of the fears, and then there's a bunch of like intermingled things. There's a bunch of people who are basically just like, it is just job displacement. It's a secure jobs, right? Which is and as we know, technology will create other jobs, but not the same ones. So maybe that's not too valid. There's other where people are feeling that, hey, it's a loss of control from the human side, like it's not as humans. Like how would you deal with some of these? I think you've come across some criticisms as well. How would you deal with them?
Yeah.
Like what's your yeah.
Yeah, I've heard all of them at this point. So regarding the jobs, so far we've not seen us having to hire less people. If we're doing more revenue, we're only going to be hiring more, right? Or at least we're not going to be hiring less. I think if everything's running smoothly with the people that are here right now, there's no point for me to go and fire them. So I don't think we're going to see less hiring, or at least not in my sector. Um, Rather than that, it will open up possibilities. So, for example, AI dubbing. We dub our videos with AI. That has just contributed like crazy to our business. But we never had the budget in the first place to hire um, uh, people who dubbed it, themselves.
And this would be
So
like dubbing in Hindi or Mandarin
yeah.
or
Exactly. So now with AI, all of a sudden this is possible, right? So I think we're going to see more of that, more of like evening out the playing field. welcoming more competition, and that the quality is going to go up more. Right? To me, that's how I look at that. And then the part regarding creativity, what has always amazed me, and this is to me like you mentioned this earlier, 1 in 100,000, right? If that's the number. Um, if you look at the top gaming YouTubers, I've retired. I've not been actively pursuing and trying to grow my YouTube channel, and I'm still top 50 YouTube gamers, right? Um, so I would say I have a pretty good grasp on um, what this content should be, and what people want to see, right? Or at least for myself. I think it's then crazy for me to do exactly what I'm doing, aka telling a story, sharing stories in whichever way possible, and for people then to tell me that this is what I shouldn't be doing. And then the thing they often tell me is it needs to be human, it needs to be you. And I'm like, this is me. It doesn't get more me than this. It's just that I'm using different tools, right? So rather than me using a camera, and rather than me using an editing software, I can generate the images, and I can in all of a sudden I can really tell a story in a completely different way. So it's simply an innovation in the storytelling department. Whereas before you would use a typewriter or you would sing a song next to a campfire, and now we got movies and video games. This is just the next iteration of it, right? And what the final form is, I don't know, but I'm all here for it. And I'm telling my story. I'm pretty sure the story is resonating with a lot of people. Like the amount of discussion it has triggered in the space shows to me that I'm doing the exact job that I'm supposed to be doing, influencing people. That's my job title, right? Influencer. So that's how I look at it.
Um, that's amazing. And, one of the things that I think Mark Zuckerberg, for example, one like a lot of stuff that Meta is developing is about enabling creators to kind of like scale up their productivity, because it's like creators want to be able to interact with their fans, but as soon as you cross maybe even like 100,000 subs, you stop being able to read every single comment on the YouTube channel, for example. It's not possible
Yeah.
anymore
Yeah.
for anyone to do that, right? And yet like you still want to be able to kind of like capture kind of like the most interesting comments, the funniest ones, and you kind of want to have like a general sense of what the commentary, the 100,000 comments if you have in a video are. And that's not, Mark's like, AI should be able to do that for you. Like that you should be able to have that interaction with both the specific interesting comments and also the larger base of like just to get a general sense, which is what is being developed right now. But is that something that you felt as a frustration, that at some point you're like, I can't deal with every person on a personal basis anymore. You're just the undifferentiated mass.
Yeah, and I want to be making videos, right? But I don't necessarily want to be in the video. I want to have 10 channels and make like cooking videos and reaction videos and game reviews and news videos. Like I would love that, but I don't want to be in every single one of them, and I don't want to be making every single one of them like by hand. I would love to share my vision of what I think will be fun, but the exact like factory work, because it's a factory. Like a lot of people don't realize, but one of the big things which I was a part of was the first wave of content creators going from I'm a content creator and I do everything by myself, because this is what it was before, to I have an editor. And just having an editor was already a big no-go. Like I was with massive YouTubers who wouldn't disclose that they had an editor because they felt like they were going to get backlash. And I feel like right now we're at the next stage, right? It should be fine to automate certain steps in your workflow, and this is what a lot of people do. And it seems that everything can be automated. And I'm pretty sure even the avatar can be automated. People don't seem to mind. The only time people seem to mind, and this is where I feel like the majority of the backlash came from, is once you replace the host of a channel, right? So if you this is the key man problem. If you build a brand around a specific person or character and you replace this character and people find out, that's what they don't like. So, for example, with Blue, we've replaced everyone behind the scenes, but the face of the cartoon stayed the same. Even the voice was different. People don't care, but the face stayed the same. There was no noticeable drop. But then with Kwebbelkop, there was. So we're still trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. We'll get there.
So just the background is that Blue is literally a cartoon style avatar, kind of blue hair, and he sits in the corner of the screen and he gives game commentary.
Yeah,
And the channel is the most successful virtual art channel,
yeah,
gaming channel, and it's more than a million, I think 1.2 million subs or something that I saw
correct.
recently.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's been very successful. So one thing that I wanted to get a sense from you is that let's say you see a video, right? Someone else's video, and is there like this kind of like professional kind of like a thought process that you had, like, hey, he should be using this one for the thumbnail. He should have cut
Hmm.
here and here. That piece should have been moved over there, and that would have had more impact on the audience. Like, you had that kind of professional sense whenever you look at something.
100%. And that's literally what my business is, right? So we have production teams, and for years I taught them that. So I taught them exactly what makes a good thumbnail. Well, if you use these colors, you can use these compositions. How do you come up with a good thumbnail idea? Well, there's methods for this, right? And really teach them the basics. But the same thing goes for editing. Another one is storytelling, right? So like, how can you keep someone engaged? There's this one very interesting trick, and if you know this trick, you will guaranteed go viral, right? So what this trick is that you start off with an extremely catchy hook, okay? And then what you do is you continue to entertain the audience. So for example, you explain to them that you are a well-educated influencer, that you have over 5,000 long-form videos, or 5,000 long-form videos, 1,000 videos with more than 1 million views, so that you are a reputable source. You make sure the audience is satisfied, and you keep teasing and keep on getting closer to revealing that one little trick, so that they're at the edge of their seats, and that when they're ready to hear the trick, you give them the trick, right? So that's the trick. You just want to, the most basic thing is get them hooked on, get them to click on the video, then entertain them, make sure they stay, and at the end, give them what they stayed for, so that they're happy and they can continue. And it's all these I would say protocols that I was teaching for years and years and years to these people, who then went off to become, either get hired by Mr. Beast, start their own channel, get millions of subscribers. We make a channel with them and they'd leave and start another channel and get, go super famous, become super famous again. So I was like teaching them exactly what to do, and then they went and did it and became super successful. So then we said, if it's a protocol, we should be able to teach AI systems this, and that's what we're doing
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Amazing. And is it like, when you were in this process of did you like read any books, or did you discover it? Like, did you like experiment, like, I'm gonna try this today on this video, I'm gonna try it back with that video, I'm gonna see the results? Like, was it a process of experimentation, or how did that come about?
Yeah, a lot of experimentation, a lot of internal research, a lot of A/B testing. So some fun A/B testing we did was with the virtual avatars. So this is crazy if you think about it. The first Kwebbelkop AI virtual avatar test was 3 to 4 years ago. So what we'd done was we wanted to see the impact of, replacing my face with a virtual character. And then we wanted to see what's the viewer's reaction to this, right? So rather than seeing me, who they expected, they saw a virtual version of me, which was like the same as Blue, right? Older version of Blue. Um, and what we noticed there was that there was a 50% decline in average view duration, right? So half the people left way early. Like it was just astronomical, huge, detrimental, extremely bad for the video. Um, and that was an interesting one. Because if it wasn't, I would have switched over to AI way before that. And then another fun experiment we did was with the voice. So we A/B tested swapping out the voice of Blue, but then again, we believe that you could also do it with a real person, and um, it was totally fine. No noticeable drop, nothing. And it makes sense too because people are much more of a visual. Often it's a lot more data, whereas a slight tweak in someone's accent or those things shouldn't matter too much. So yeah, we did a lot of testing, we did a lot of research. Remember, we have like thousands and thousands and thousands of videos, so we could just test it. Um, and then also shared a bunch of research with some other amazing creators, right? So definitely never didn't do all this stuff on my own. And then yeah, that's it. Now we're here.
Would you say like when you are in a room with someone or when you're in real life, do you have at some point like this would look good in a video kind of like sensation, like this kind of imagining it as it works as a
I
video?
I used to have that, but that's like a big problem because I would work like it would recording 2 videos a day is intense. Also means you need to concept 2 videos a day. So I'm like in bed and I'm like, wake up middle of the night, write down this video idea, go back to bed. Or in the middle of a conversation, just grab my phone, or I'm driving my car and just the person next to me, I'm like, hey, could you text this to me real quick? But always being, switched on, it's very tiring.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine it must be. Would you say that you know uh what are the like I look at numbers a lot. So what are like the key numbers that you look at, either like when you wake up in the morning? Are there like certain numbers that you look at in terms of either your business or in terms of a video? Like one of the key numbers that you always come back? I would say like if it was a video, you'd look at number of views and like the view time graph, like drop off graphs. That's my guess. And if it was the business, you probably have a consolidated view of dashboard of like not number of videos, number of views, and consolidated based
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, pretty accurate, but do not recommend looking at it daily.
on. Oh, really?
Because it fluctuates, right?
It
So
fluctuates.
if you look at it daily, you can, the mood swings can, like, you'll have a video that flops, right? Since it's not guaranteed to always get better, it's more of a percentage based. I'm trying to increase the percentage of videos that go above 1 million views in a month, right? Something like that. But before I would look at it daily. Now it's more of biweekly to monthly, but I also look at it quarterly, right? So and then also compared to previous quarter, to put it more into perspective of like occasionally the long-term investments, are they paying off? We're starting a new, or we have started a new virtual influencer, and it's like, yeah, I know for like we're committing for 3 months, and then we'll recalibrate. But that means that for the first month, like, yeah, of course, I'm gonna expect videos to hit like 10 views, right? Um, so and then company wide, yeah, my favorite one is how many videos did we post, right? But I would more lean towards the amount of minutes of content produced, because I could create 100 videos, but they're all like 20 seconds, right? Or I could create 10 videos and they're all 10 minutes. And watch time is the currency that we trade in here. So a lot of people think it's views. I have a video with 100 million views. It is made me like 2 grand. That's it. 100 million views. And then I have a video with 10 million views and it's made me like 100 grand, right? Because the 10 million viewed one, on average, people watched 5 minutes, whereas the other one, people watched like 20 seconds on average. So watch hours, because at one point watch minutes is it's too small, so you go to watch hours. That's why you're constantly trying to optimize for, and that's also very much linked to revenue.
Amazing. It's interesting to hear that you look at total hours of content produced or urbanism content produced. It's people have been describing to me that different socials have different kind of like metrics in terms of how you judge what does well on them. But this idea that you have to produce more is definitely one of the things that you have to produce more in order to have more bets, right? Because each production is a bet basically. And
it's this balancing act, right? So there's this, you cannot produce too much because then it'll be spam. So then if you produce a lot, you need to distribute it on the right channels or the right platforms. But you also want to balance it between quality, because you can scale content production. Like I could post 1,000 times more videos than I'm currently posting with with pretty little resources. However, it's not interesting because then you're not making a profit with any of the videos. So then you need to think, okay, well, I need to produce not more content, but I need to focus more on the quality of content that gets uploaded. And that's really where our main focus lies. Like when we're producing AI generated content, we want it to be good content, and good content is then measured in a few numbers, right? So we look at average view duration, we look at like average views per video, we look at likes, dislikes, comments, and subscribers gained, and then the growth of all those numbers too.
So one of the things that you probably have like a ton of fans all over the place. So do you think, for example, let's say technology were to enable a fan to basically like, hey, I want Kwebbelkop AI to play my game with me and talk to me while I'm playing, right? Because kids are like, would that be something that you think could happen, would happen? Would you be interested in that happening?
100%, and we're making it happen, right? So soon I'll announce it, but I'm investing in a few companies who align with our vision here. But yeah, I think it's extremely it's an interesting market to explore. For example, what we recently did in Saudi Arabia is we partnered up with a company called Yepic, and they put me on a stage, and we made a virtual clone of myself who then interviewed me in real time, right? So this I would say he was like a virtual looking AI clone of myself who knew a bunch of information, who pretended to be me, and then who interviewed me. And then, I would talk back to it, and it would go back and forth and actually listen. This wasn't pre-planned or anything. And then, we're constantly exploring those options. For example, putting a hologram of myself on a stage. And then all of a sudden I can attend tons of stage performances at the same time. And you can do this with a plethora of IPs, right? So it doesn't have to be me, it can be anyone else. But the same thing goes for video games. Like, I would love it if someone could play video games with me or with Kwebbelkop, right? And then just having a good time. I had this kid come up to me and he said, he asked this exact question. He said, "Are you going to build it? Because I want to I have no friends to play with, and I would love to have AI friends to play with." And that could be an interesting way to tackle the loneliness epidemic. And yeah, like I'm all for it. I think building the technology, it's only I know a few startups who are working on it. It's only I would say a year away for it to actually become very usable and potentially even go mainstream. And I'm actively pushing these companies to make it happen too.
One of the things that there's a guy called Robin Hanson, and Robin Hanson has this thing called the Age of M, which is kind of the emulated human. And the emulated human is basically you start off with kind of a digital emulation of you, and over time, you that emulation acquires memories and the ability to reason and et cetera, et cetera. And at some point, you have a handing off point. Like, do you kind of see this kind of like progression that you can kind of see ahead of you, like, as you yourself are, creating an emulation of yourself in a sense. No.
Yeah, 100%. We've already passed this point with certain genres on social media. So, for example, the first stage of Kwebbelkop AI for me is reaction content. So me reacting to something because that's the core foundation of everything. And we already have an AI that does this surprisingly well for short form videos. And we just deployed the model, and then I gave it to one of my employees who's not technical at all, social media manager, and I said, "All right, go generate 4 videos a day and post them on like 5 different platforms." And now we're posting 20 videos a day of me, reacting to stuff, and it's getting insane views. Like some of these videos hit 8, 9, 10 million views, just a single video. And currently we're working on long form and then gaming. We showed some sneak peeks the other day on Twitter. Some people loved it, some people hated it. That's fine. But the handoff point is getting. You look at your day and you're like, there's like 10 different things I do or 100 different things I do. But now AI can do 5 of them, and soon AI can do 10 of them, and then 20, and then 30, and then 40. So that's more of that's kind of the that's how I see it happening. And then stage performances or other ways to license out your IP. But that's also possible, right? For you to say, hey, use my IP, and then we'll just link it to our software. We will manage it for you, and we can guarantee you like millions and millions of views, or at least
Mm,
we can guarantee you the production of the content. Um,
no.
yeah.
When you look at a Kwebbelkop AI, reacting, what sense do you have? Like, do you have the sense that is me, or do you have the sense that
Yes.
that is not me?
So, right. So I'm
Uh,
deep in with the devs, right? So I'm there with them every single day, preferably. Um, and besides like the voice in the face, right? Because that's obvious. Like, okay, does it move like me? Does it look like me? Can you tell the mouth is moving accurately? We got that one on lockdown pretty early on, and then now we've like fine tuned it and got it like stupid good. Same thing with the voice. We got that really good too. But then the question is, will it say the same things that I will say when something is shown? And I had an interesting. We had a test session. So we had just pushed a new model. We generated a few videos, and then we sat there with like anyone from the office, right? So we got HR in, and we said, HR, go sit down, watch this video. And our head of HR looked at it, and it was like me reacting, or Kwebbelkop AI reacting to like a sausage being pulled out and then being cut into slices. And then she goes, well, Kwebbelkop didn't mention the hot dog. He just said, let's slice it, or something along those lines. And she goes, well, some feedback would be to have it point out the hot dog when it comes out. And then I jumped in there and I said, I'm sorry, don't listen to that feedback, because I would have never mentioned the hot dog. I would have just said, let's get right to the slicing, or chopping up the sausage, like something along those lines. But I wouldn't have said, hey, that's a hot dog. So to me, we're getting to the point right now where it's like, I, I would say it's better, consistently better especially on average too. Like it's better than what I could do. Like I will sit there and not only will the production be much slower, but I feel like the commentary won't be as fun um, if I was sitting there. It's strange. Like I said, we're already past this point, and the results are there, right?
Amazing. It is actually been one of the big questions has been can we get AI which is passable, as in humans would respond well to it, and you know, obviously there's this technical uncanny valley there, which I think we have spoken about over Twitter in the like couple of days. I think we even tracked on that. So there's been some of the tech that has come out has a deep uncanny valley. And especially because I've experimented with something like, let's say, these facial photo kind of apps, and what I found was that people who were very close to me, like my niece or nephew, who saw me on a day-to-day basis, were very freaked out. They were like, this is very, very disturbing. But people who were much, much more distant, like, you know, business partner that I hadn't seen for like a year or whatever, is like, yeah, you know, that's okay. You know, like, so like the level of uncanniness depends on how close you are to the person, because the models are trained on an average human, and then you put a face of your specific face fine tune on
Yeah.
them.
Yep.
And so their interactions are, they average out the interactions instead of having your unique idiosyncrasies. And so, you know, very, very few people in the world, I think, has been filmed as much as you. I think probably in the last 10 years, you're probably in the top 0.01% of people who have been filmed that, who have
Probably,
seen
yeah.
that kind of facial expression range and emotional range, and, you know, which has been there. And one of my questions has always been, is that actually enough for, let's say, an AI like 50 years in the future to be like, hey, I'm going to reconstruct Jordi because I have so much data on Jordi. And I'm going to just like, I have so many videos, and I'm just going to put all of the videos together. And I have this really good, like, external model of who Jordi is. I'm going to reconstruct Jordi just based on the YouTube videos today. And it's because you have a lot of data, right? So that has been one of my big things. Like, are YouTube influencers the first?
The first ones to I'm gonna want to up you on that. I think we're gonna get to a point where we're gonna reach longevity escape velocity, right? We'll probably reach AGI ASI before this, and then we'll reach longevity escape velocity. Also because we need time to realize if you know, is it actually working? Like it'll take a while before everyone stops dying, and then okay, so you can get anything you want in the world. You can buy anything you want. You can probably enter any simulation that you want, right? And you can't die, okay? You can travel and explore the world and everything. But there will still be a generation who says, we have loved ones who died and we want them back, right? There will also be people who will still die because of accidents, which then means that we need to figure out a way to clone consciousness. So if we figure out a way to clone consciousness, surely we could then reverse engineer based on all the data that's publicly available to get this consciousness, right? I'm all here for it, and that's my theory on what's after death. I think I'm just going to wake up right away, and they're going to be like, is this really you? Are you conscious? And I'm just going to give them the thumbs up. So yeah, I'm throwing it out here publicly right now. Please bring me back as the first, or the first successful guarantee. Like if you can guarantee that it's going to be me, bring me back, revive me as an AI, put me in like a robot body, and hell yeah, let's do it.
Right.
Just execution it'll take a while. We need some more neural breakthroughs, I bet.
Amazing. So because the funny thing is, you know, I don't know if you've seen this graph. There's this, like, you know, what is the top, what do kids want to be in every country?
Yeah.
And then it's like, you know, it's like US, you're doing influencer. You know, Europe, you're doing for the China, like astronaut.
Yeah.
And every time people come across, like, you know, every time someone wants to like criticize like the US, like in the US, like Americans criticizing the US would be like, oh, you know, look, our kids are gonna be, all they want to do is like, we're gonna be doing better. It's terrible, right? But the funny thing for me is, like, you know, I always lean into maybe people to really know what they're doing, And maybe this concept of like people wanting to put out like content about themselves is really this form of like digital longevity, right? Like
Yep.
they're creating stuff for forever, and they know it, and they know it's gonna last for like a long time. So, I especially because I think as YouTube has gotten like a little bit more mature, I've noticed much older people now coming on. So I've seen like even people with like grand people with grandfathers, etc., and they have a hobby like odd hobby like
Hmm.
gardening or something like that, and they start putting on content, and then they get like huge reception, and
Yep.
then the entire social circle, because a lot of times like they've been trying to teach their kids some weird skill like basket weaving, whatever, and the kids are like, no, like I'm not interested in what you do it do. And so they end up like putting it out as content on YouTube, and it just finds an audience by itself because there are other people out there who have those interests.
Yep.
And then they kind of move over from handing off their skills to their own kids, handing off their skills to the world in as a broad, so kind of like this mimetic spread of of ideas. So so yeah, Jordi, you have like some I've heard that you are very interested in Michio Kaku.
Yep.
Is kind of the kind of transhumanist, looking forward good to the world. Uh, you also have, I think you mentioned a book by James Barrett, which is kind of the end of all life, and digital intelligence emerging. And I think the James Barrett book is a little bit more cautious because he's more like some really bad things could happen and we have to be afraid of the AI, etc. So, what are some of the fears of AI that you can kind of see emerging in the future? Like, what would you think might be things that people might be concerned about?
I'm not afraid of the whole Terminator situation. I think robots and AI fighting each other could actually become a peaceful innovation in war, where we would just say, "Hey, we'll have two AI robot armies fight each other, and whoever comes out on top, they get to decide what's happening here, right?" So I'll make. Also, let's go USA. Anyways, but I'm all for it. I don't think that's too scary. I also don't think we're gonna see like these AI super intelligence, like just self-replicating and dominating and all those things. One that's a little bit closer to home, where I would say, okay, that's something I am slightly you know cautious about, and I don't really hear a lot of people say it, is that, what we're trying to do is, the largest social media platforms are all focused on getting you to watch and stick to the screen. And this is one of the biggest businesses in the world, right? Get people to look at screens for as long as possible. And then, let's introduce a device so that you're always looking at a screen, to the point where like we're trying to make people addicted to something, and this is a huge business. um but what if you take it a step further, and we start talking simulations, right? What if we can create a one-on-one hyper realistic simulation, that you can enter and you can have a fun experience in, right? um, but then if you optimize those simulations to be hyper addictive, then we're going to introduce a world where, like, you enter the simulation, you're going to stay in it because you wouldn't ever want to go back, right? So I think that would only be possible, with generative AI, with even more advanced recommendation algorithms and hardware. So that's my AI apocalypse, where, like, everyone's gonna be like, "Hey, let me try this simulation once." You put it on, and it turns out it's this like extremely addictive thing, and that just wipes out
Yeah,
humanity. Um,
yeah.
yep.
Wire heading. Yeah, wire
Mm-hmm.
heading.
Yep.
So, and I have to ask you this: that you must have tried both the Apple Vision Pro, the Quest Meta. Like every new
Yep.
VR device must come to you at some point, right?
Yep.
So, what have your experiences been with these VR devices so far? How was the feel?
Yeah, I think I followed them since like the first Oculus Rift. or one of the first Oculus Rift. And I like to see I like the progression. I think that's cool. It's just that, I have so many of them. But I sold my Apple Vision Pro. I'm like, I put it on. I'm like, there's not enough apps. There's nothing for me to do in this space. I think it's sick. I would love it. I would love to put it on and just have a zoom in and enhance feature. But then Apple doesn't allow you to build an app with a camera in there. I would love to have, a multi-modal model like integrated into the system for it to watch and have memory and listen to every conversation that I have. But we're not there yet. So I'm all for it. I just think we're like still too early. We need better hardware. We need, more open source, which Meta is focusing on, which is nice. And then we just need more developers. Uh, yeah, I'm not a huge fan, but I like it. I have all of them. Yeah.
Indeed. Okay, so there are a lot of people developing AI tools for creators. A lot of them, and you're one of the preeminent creators in the space. Like, what kind of AI tools which you haven't seen before would you like to see? Like, what are some like random ideas
I
that you
can't
just
tell
want to
you.
throw
I'm
off as
building it.
seeds?
No, I'm joking.
Haha, that's it. It's a good
No,
answer.
so one that I would love to see is a fully Gen AI social media platform where the app allows you to generate a video, but then once the video is generated, it's then posted on social media or on this social media platform. So you go there, everything's AI, right? I think that would be a very fun one. But yeah, like a full one that's really annoying me is AI video editor. We built one ourselves, but I think once we have like really good LLMs, that they can be the backbone of like a video editor, because at the end of the day, it's all FFmpeg, right? So, or MoviePy, and then they could write the code based on the files and things like that.
And
Yeah.
is that really like kind of like you just want to tell it like, hey, you know what? Cut from here to here and spice this
No,
in.
no, no, no,
No.
no. You
Oh.
just give it the footage and you say, make this viral, and it just does that, right?
Uh
Yeah.
yeah, right. Because you already have like some sense that there is a kind of formula that there's there that can be followed,
Yeah, yeah, and
and
these systems
you just need
they
one it.
know it.
Yeah,
They know it. Like
right.
the recent GPT-2, not dash
Yeah,
2,
yeah,
we tested it, and then we
yeah.
compared it with GPT-4 and with Claude 3 Opus to see which one is best at generating video ideas. And we did an A/B test, and my team very quickly said like GPT-2, without knowing which one it was by far the best one, and they came up with a few good ideas. So to me, it shows. Whereas before the GPT-4, it didn't do that well. Now it's done way better. And then with these LLMs getting better, it's only going to get better at knowing what's going to be viral, knowing what's going to perform well, with less and less data, because you could just put it all in a prompt too, like fitting your entire channel catalog in a prompt. What's that, like a trillion tokens? For it to
Indeed,
watch it and know everything, and then it just
indeed.
needs to output it too. Um,
Yeah,
yep.
indeed. Amazing. So because just the background is that GPT-2 was a release on this board called LMSys, which is the benchmarking organization. It was not known who released it, and it was up for about between 24 and 36 hours before it was taken down. The suspicions were that it was a OpenAI, like, back and fest,
Yep.
hidden fest. People weren't sure, but it was showing very, very good results in the benchmarking, and people were, surprised at how good it was. And there was also a Sam Altman like keys, like, oh,
Yep.
my, GPT-2 is one of my favorites, or something like that. And so, but it was only up for like 34, 36 hours, and like a lot of people in the AI space kind of like, basically very quickly identified that it was very, very and were suspicious. So anyway, but it was taken down yesterday about $12 ago. And it's amazing that your team could identify that. Jordi, I think that's it for the show. Thank you for your time today. And I am like so inspired because I think for anyone who creates anything, there's always a period of like, the first period where you put out stuff and you don't know whether it's good, and there's another period where you start to get good at your craft, and then there's the period when you graduate. And it's really interesting to see someone who is in that post-graduation phase and who is now like trying to enable something even bigger than that. So super inspired.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and we'll talk more on Twitter. All right.
Emergent Behavior is a part of the Turpentine Network. For our full newsletter, visit emergentbehavior.co. For more Turpentine podcasts and sponsorship inquiries, visit turpentine.co.